This week, we focused on two major developments: the situation in the Middle East and growing concerns over a potential trade war. It has been 1 month since the last ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas collapsed. According to the United Nations, no aid, no food, no fuel, and no commercial supplies has entered Gaza during this period. On Tuesday, the UN Secretary General made a public statement on the dire humanitarian situation.
In times like these, we must be crystal clear about the situation. With crossing points into Gaza shut and aid blockaded, security is in shambles and our capacity to deliver has been strangled. And as the heads of UN humanitarian organizations declared in a joint statement yesterday, and I quote, assertions that there is now enough food to feed all Palestinians in Gaza are far from the reality on the ground, and commodities are running extremely low. End of quote.
He also expressed strong opposition to Israel's newly introduced authorization mechanisms for aid delivery.
Let me be clear. We will not participate in any arrangement that does not fully respect the humanitarian principles: humanity, impartiality, independence, and neutrality.
On Monday, the Security Council held a meeting on peacekeeping operations. During the session, Lieutenant General Aroldo Lazaro, head of the UN peacekeeping mission in Lebanon, UNIFIL, briefed the Council on the evolving situation along the Blue Line and how UNIFIL is fulfilling its mandate.
Since the cessation of hostilities, which came into effect on the 27th of November, and in the absence of a permanent ceasefire, one of the main obstacles has always been that the parties interpret differently their obligations under Resolution 1701, and now with respect to the cessation of hostilities understanding. The strategic context and the balance of forces have now significantly changed, and we may finally see a slow process towards a more permanent ceasefire, but this may still take a long time.
Also this week, at the request of Syria, Algeria, and Somalia, the Security Council convened an emergency meeting on Israel's recent military actions inside Syrian territory. So, what is the current situation in southern Syria?
The situation in the UNDOF area of operation since the closed Security Council consultation on UNDOF on the 19th of March has remained volatile and continues to be characterized by significant violations of the 1974 disengagement of forces agreement with the entry of the Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, into the area of separation since the 8th of December.
The United Nations is urging for a renewed opportunity for peace during this critical moment for Syria.
Syria is at a crossroads and deserves a chance to continue to work towards an inclusive political transition, where the Syrian people can overcome the conflicts, revive their economy, realize their legitimate aspirations, and contribute to regional stability.
Now, on to the trade war. This week, we witnessed a dramatic development as the United States imposed tariffs. What was the Secretary General's response?
Trade wars are extremely negative. Nobody wins with a trade war. Everybody tends to lose. And I'm particularly worried with the most vulnerable developing countries, in which the impact will be more devastating. I sincerely hope that we will have no recession, because a recession will have dramatic consequences, especially for the poorest people in the world.
And in a separate development, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance referred to Chinese citizens as peasants during a recent interview. Is it appropriate for a political leader to use such language?
From Vice President of this country.
To make it a little bit more crystal clear, we borrow money from Chinese
I've seen
peasants
that
to
clip.
buy the things those Chinese peasants manufacture.
Should political figures talking like this?
I think we have seen in many instances, political figures use inflammatory rhetoric.
And one last question, I'm sorry. Many people believe that Trump administration is bullying other countries by putting tariffs, bullying penguins, bullying the United Nations by exiting agencies, stop fundings. Is the globalization coming to an end now?
Look, I think I will leave that deep question to analysts. I think the Secretary General was very clear yesterday when Edie asked him about trade and about tariffs, and that is, in a trade war, nobody wins and everybody loses.
Well, we are living in a time of deep global turbulence, and we'll continue to closely monitor how these stories unfold here in the UN. And that's all from me for now.